All right, good evening, everyone. It is 5 o'clock. I believe we have our board members present. Director Bloomquist, have you seen all of our board members?
I think we're there. I've got Gary, I've got, oops, we're bouncing around. Cassie's on, and Brian De La Grange is here. And Debbie Brownell is here. Cliff Coleman is here. You are here. Who am I missing?
Is Todd here?
I think that's everyone.
Todd's here. Yeah. Good.
Okay. Great. Well, good evening. We will call our general session to order, and we will begin with our Pledge of Allegiance this evening. So if all those who would like, please join us by standing, and we will start our Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great, thank you. We'll begin tonight with our communications and presentations. Our second item on the agenda. Would like to announce a couple of things. First, I know that many individuals are attending on both sides of an issue regarding pre, post, or whatever termination hearings you'd like to call it. We are not having any hearings this evening, so if you are here for that, please note that that is not on our agenda tonight. We would also like to ask if you have any written communication, or if you have any wish to speak, you may put that in the chat and Director Bloomquist will monitor that for me. You may speak to any of the agenda items listed, and we will limit your comments to 3 minutes. If we have a large group of people wishing to speak on the same subject, in the effort to maintain some semblance of time, we will likely limit that if we have numerous people who are speaking and stating the same thing. We have received numerous emails over the last week, and so we appreciate that. We welcome any written communications that you would like to send us. So, and that brings us to item 2.1. Superintendent Kolb, do we have any written communications?
No additional written communications.
Okay, thank you. We will then go to number 2.3. Our property committee meeting, which minutes were found in our agenda packet. I don't know if those in attendance, I saw Gary, Cassie, and Brian, if there was any further comment you'd like to make to the board on those meeting minutes.
Member De La Grange would just say that those minutes are very detailed and extensive. So if anyone is interested in the content of that meeting, I would encourage you to review those minutes.
Okay. All right, thank you. We will go to item 3.0 on our agenda, our consent agenda. So we need approval of our September 28th board agenda, as well as approval of our September 14th board draft minutes. And I will entertain a motion to approve.
This is Member Richardson, and I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. We have a second. Thank you.
Member Neville.
Thank you, Todd. Any further discussion? All in favor? Tanya, would you please give us a roll call vote?
Member De La Grange?
Yes.
Member Brownell?
Yes.
Member Wilkins?
Yes.
Member Coleman?
Yes.
Member Richardson?
Yes.
Neville?
Yes.
Board Chair Nelson?
Yes. Thank you. All right, we'll go to 4.0, our reports. It has been several months since we have heard any reports from our principals and teachers. And as we discussed the agenda, we felt it important to allow our principals a time to report on how school is going and our reopening events. And hopefully the positive thing about bringing the kids back to school. So Superintendent Kolb, I will turn it over to you to introduce our principals in order, and we will hear their reports.
Sure, let's start with the elementary by alphabetical. Rob Lewis is not able to be in attendance this evening, so Parkside will not have a report. So we'll just start with Allendale, and we'll let them see if they know their alphabet and can follow suit.
Thanks, Kirk. I'll start us off for Allendale. I think I can speak for all the principals when I say that it's been amazing having students back in the building, despite, students wearing masks, having to social distance. Students have been having a great time, a lot of fun, a lot of learning taking place. It's been amazing all around, and super proud of our kids. They've done just an amazing job of adapting and adjusting and going with the flow. And we kind of celebrated the students last week coming back. We had a Spirit Week last week. We had different dress up days every day last week. I think if you ask the students, they'll tell you the highlight of the week was my flaming hot Cheeto pants, pajama pants that I wore one day. And if you are interested in purchasing a pair, they're $10 at Walmart. I think they look great on Mr. Kolb or Dr. Nelson. I'm sure you could pull it off just fine. Last year, our students raised enough money during Jogathon for us to purchase a book vending machine, much like Riverside has. And that's supposed to be delivered within the next couple of weeks. We're going to surprise the students with it on KPAW and have a big show. And the students, the way they'll earn the books, they don't pay money for it. They earn tokens through our PBIS incentive. So just an exciting start to the year. I think the book vending machine is going to be a big deal for the kiddos. They were excited about it last year. And I think when they see it in person, they're going to be even more excited. So that's what's happening at Allendale. I'm going to pass it off to Nev at Highland. It's all you, Nev.
All right. Hello, everybody. Good evening. We started our year. I have to echo Jake. It is so amazing to have kids back at school. And it's incredible how you can tell kids are smiling even with their masks on. Their eyes just show that they're here and they're so excited to be at school. And I actually very much enjoy being out in the parking lot every morning, saying hi to every student I can find and parents. And it's just so great to just be back together as a Highland family. We started our year off with our retreat. We did a lot of work talking about what it looks like to embrace, engage, and empower our students. That's kind of our theme that we're flying with this year. We also spent a lot of time working on just going back to a couple of years ago when we talked about what's our why? Why are we doing this hard work? And especially in this time over the last 18, 20, 22 months, really taking some time to sit down and go, why are we doing this? And it was a really awesome reflective time for our teachers to really kind of reset for this year. Great work on our teachers' part. One thing I want to share with you at Highland, we have our PBIS swoop slips. This is kind of our token that as we're trying to recharge our PBIS system right here at the beginning of the year, we often hand this to a student. It's for a very quick, positive reinforcement of a behavior. Hey, great job with standing quietly in line. Great job if we have a student with a mask who just is always on. Great job keeping your mask over your nose. Anything like that. And what we decided to do is collect every one of these for the first while and put them on the giant bulletin board outside the library. And when we get the bulletin board full, we're going to have a school-wide celebration. It's going to take about 1,800 of these, and it's pretty close already. Very excited to see this. It's been fun to get all the kids excited to see them up there and working together for positive behavior at Highland. So that's just one kind of neat thing we're doing to kind of recharge our year. Great, great, great to be back this fall. I am going to pass it on to my friend over at Lincoln, Miss Kelly.
Hi, everybody. We at Lincoln are super excited to be back. I echo what everyone else has said about being able to see the smiles despite the masks. And I think that this year school feels largely very, very normal, just with some masks. And that is an absolutely doable thing considering we have all of our kids at school. We have been doing a lot of work at Lincoln, reconnecting. We have new staff and just working to dig back into what our why is as well. And so as a staff, we've done some work around that. And if you visit Lincoln, you will see all of our staff holding a whiteboard where they've written their why. And we are going to do that as well with our students. One of the things that we've got going is our junior coaches program for our 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders at Lincoln. And it's an after school program that some teachers are putting on. So we have some 4th and 5th grade teachers that have taken a leadership role in getting students to stay after, and they are our Playworks junior coaches at recess time. And so that's been really awesome. We got it going towards the end of last year, and we've been up and running already this year. And we are going to celebrate students and their why as well. So modeling the same thing we're doing with the staff. And so that's been really exciting. And that's just a little bit of what's happening at Lincoln. I'm going to pass to Christine at Redwood.
Hi, everyone. My camera is not working, and I don't know why. So hopefully you can hear me. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, good. So we are having so much fun at Redwood, and we are doing a lot of the same things that the other elementaries are doing as well. But one of the most exciting things that we are doing at Redwood is we are kicking off our year 2 of our Positive Discipline Pilot School. And so we've had our first Teachers Helping Teachers session, and that's been really fun to just get the teachers together to kind of brainstorm ideas to problem solve just different things that are going on in the classroom. We've also been kicking off our Student of the Month already, and our first character trait that we're focusing on, of course, is kindness, because our theme, is choose kind. So kindness is our first trait that we're focusing on. And we're looking at our first fundraiser that we're going to be doing next month is our readathon, which we didn't get a chance to do last year. So we're going to be doing that this next month, starting October 15th. So we're really excited about that. And it's been so great to have our band and strings program starting to kick off again. And we're really just looking forward to getting that going and back in action. So it's just been really, really exciting to have all the kids back in school every day, all day. So it's been really fun. And I am passing it over to Robbie over at Riverside.
And don't let her kid you. She was probably just having a bad hair day and didn't want to turn her camera on. So I just want to mention, I don't think everybody else has, that we are week 4 of kids in person all day. It's been 18 months since we've had kids in person for a full day of school. And it is so cool, but the kids are so tired at the end of the day, including my own personal ones. So it's really, really nice to have them here every day, all day. The other thing I want to point out is we had our HVAC turn on Friday. So for the first time in my 20 years as a District 7 employee, I have a building that has air conditioning. And it's really, 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 really fun to have. It's blowing on me right now. And I just want to thank the board and the district office staff for making this happen. My heart was full as I got to walk around and tell teachers, you can shut your door because you're going to have cold air coming. They haven't done that since they've been teaching here, to have it's open because it's cold or open because it's hot. And so it's really nice to have that. And just once again, thank you to the board and thank you to our district office staff for making that happen. At Riverside, we have Stepping Stones up and running again. We didn't get to have our Stepping Stones program run last year just because with those kids, it just being online, it really didn't work. The program isn't really effective that way. And I'm telling you what, we've got kids already in the building that are seeing we're seeing progress from them, and already talking about letting some of them transition back into the classrooms if we can hire some staff to make that happen. That's the hardest part right now, is getting enough staffing to do all that. But having that, we're having a building coming in for that so we can even house more kids. I think that's one of the biggest joys I already being able to talk transition into the classrooms. And I want to thank Jake for copying Riverside, because our book vending machine is up and running. We do it, kids don't get to buy books with money, they get to buy it with good behavior. And we've already had several kids get to come down with their cot slips and purchase books because of their good behavior. And that's the other fun thing that we've got to see the joy in their faces with that as well. Our PTA last year raised over the last 2 years quite a bit of money, and they've purchased $29,000 worth of playground equipment that will be coming from Playcraft here in the next month that we should be getting installed. We're going to start our readathon here in the next couple of weeks to pay for the install, because not only is the equipment expensive, but installing it also is quite a chunk of change. So we're going to do a readathon starting the beginning of October to help that happen. And we've got Bike to School, Walk and Roll to School coming up October 6th. So if you want to get up and be at the park at 7:10 and bike or roll to school or walk to school, you're welcome to come on down. And that's Riverside. I think we get to turn it over to Mr. Blanchard now at North, I believe.
Yep, thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. We have much of the same kind of beginning of the year things going on as the elementary schools do. Our staff shirts this year are Care and Connect. So we're not necessarily saying reconnect. Ours is just Care and Connect, and that has been a focus for us from the get-go. And we continue to look to incorporate ways to do that in every one of our classrooms every day. We are currently in the middle of a Spirit Week. Tomorrow will be Blue and White Day. Thursday is an exciting one for us, which will be Crazy Hair and Mask Day. It's not Halloween mask, but the kids have an opportunity to decorate the mask that they wear every day for safety and health reasons. And so we're excited about that. We're going to mention sports at the middle school because that's a little different than the elementary. We currently have 5 volleyball teams, 3 at the 8th grade level and 2 at the 7th grade level. Board member Neville and I have seen a number of 7th grade volleyball games over the last couple of weeks, and excited to see kids out there, many of them participating in sports for the very first time. And we're really excited that our middle schools are able to provide those opportunities. Cross country is up and running. We'll be having a meet over here at North on Thursday, but it's actually hosted by South. It'll be the second one that's run over here. So it'll be a great time for our 2 middle schools to come together and run and compete against one another. An 8th and 7th grade football team. Our 7th grade currently is actually in the middle of a game right now, and the 8th grade will be playing tomorrow. They put in a lot of practice, and this is only their 2nd week of being able to be in competition, but they're really excited about it. Our clubs are underway. The biggest, as I mentioned in our last board meeting, was the robotics club, but the Sage Club as well as the NASU Club are getting up and underway. So we're excited about that, providing more opportunities for kids. A couple other kids have started coming with some potential ideas, and so we're looking forward to seeing what they come to the table with. And the last thing will be academically. We're wrapping up our iReady diagnostic testing for math, as well as our reading inventory in anticipation and in prep for our data review meeting. So that's it for North, and I'll turn it over to Robert at South.
Good evening, I'm Mr. Lingo at South Middle School. Thanks for the opportunity to share some of the fun things that have been going on at South. A little different than the other schools in the district is this has been our first week with students back in person. So it's been really exciting. As many of you know, we had some construction delays that prevented us from bringing students back a few weeks ago, and the rest of the district did. And so staff and students have been just tremendous, being patient with being online once again. And then the last 2 days, getting 6th graders Monday and 7th and 8th graders back as well today has been great. Just the change in the energy and the excitement is you can just sense it when you walk the hallway, and you can hear voices and see the movement. It's great to see so many kids back and having a great time. So I just want to send a thank you to families and staff that have gone through so much to get back to this point, and thanks to our students for being patient and doing a good job online while they had to wait to be back here in person. We also have been doing some diagnostic testing, both in reading and math, and we're excited about the new math iReady program that teachers have used. Students have done a great job working through that. And, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to get a chance to look at that data and really start to understand where we can help students. And I think where our teachers and administration are so excited with that new testing program is that we can look and say, where do students have gaps that we can work individually to fill? We can work to fill gaps as a whole class. And then it even extends for students that are maybe excelling and doing really well at grade level. We can look for ways to continue to push them on and help enhance that education in their math classroom and similar in reading. A shout out to our leadership program. They did a great job preparing for our 6th graders to come back. It was cool to see those students the first day, but boy, the 6th graders were real nervous. And so our leadership kids did a great job of preparing to be here. They came in and they helped with that 6th grade orientation. They helped with tours. They went in and they talked about what middle school's like, and just trying to help those 6th graders feel at home. So, and also our avid students. It's great to have those kids back and doing a good job. So just a shout out to our staff and students and families that have gone through a lot the last couple of years, and it's great to have them back on campus with us in person. So thank you. And I think it's Mr. Thompson's turn now.
Actually, Mr. Shunk, I believe, is next.
I'll go. Thanks. Everybody, I'm coming to you from Gladiola and would like to share a couple of exciting things going on at Gladiola. One of them is going to be quantitative and the other will be qualitative. To begin, we are at our Alt-Ed High School as of last week at 88% attendance, which is amazing in the world of Alt-Ed. That's subtracting out the quarantines, and thankfully we've had very few quarantines. Our staff and students and community there has been really supportive of prioritizing us being able to stay in person and doing this safely. And being able to see each other every day and be there learning together is a beautiful, amazing thing. And I want to say thank you to everybody involved in help keeping us safe, and to the teachers and staff and the other students there for making a welcome environment where students want to come every day and show up and participate and be a part of the Gladiola family. So thank you to everyone. On that note, we have a lot of new staff and new students this year, and I had 10 different things I wanted to slot in for our second thing to share there. And I put it out to staff, and a few shared that one of the biggest things is having so many new staff, so many more students, and to be coming into week 4 and be a well-oiled machine moving forward is a testament to the veteran students and staff there, welcoming all of the newbies on board, myself included, making everyone feel welcome and a part of the family and getting them up to speed and getting moving with everything. It's been beautiful. We haven't had any referrals. We haven't had any suspensions. Everybody's communicating well, getting support they need, coming to us when they have challenges. The Care and Connect Week was great for students to be able to come back and share and access resources with us. For the past year and a half, there have been a lot of struggles with a lot of families in our community, and for students to be able to come back and access the resources we have available and has been a wonderful thing to see. And so go Gladiola. Natasha with GP Flex, I think you're next on the agenda.
Thanks, Mike. For all of you and for me too, this is our very first GP Flex share out for you guys. Everything we're doing this year is the very first. And so I'd like to share with you some of our very firsts that are on the positive front here. We currently have an enrollment of 313 students, 207 of them at secondary and 106 at elementary. Of those elementary, we have 7 students that are participating independently using our Florida Virtual School curriculum and working with their family at their own pace. We have 3 students that are part-time homeschool and taking their core curriculum from us. We have several 4th and 5th grade students that are either currently or just started participating in band and strings or waiting for the 5th grade band and strings to begin. Tonight and tomorrow afternoon, we've got our elementary students finishing their first round of assessments by attending those assessments on campus at our local elementary schools. And then we also, in keeping with flexibility, are providing that online for our families that were either not comfortable or could not make it to a building level so that they can finish their assessments as well. One of the fun things is that upon completion of their assessments, they're getting some GP Flex swag in the form of a drawstring bag and t-shirt and water bottle with our logo on it. We also have an elementary and middle school Lego robotics team that one of our teachers decided to take on and provide for our students. It's got 8 members, and through networking and help from South Middle, they are giving us a place where we can practice and have our team get some work in. And then the high school hosted them in the library for practices until South was ready to open their doors for us. At the secondary level, we have 39 students that are taking classes, both in person on campuses and attending GP Flex with us. We have a student taking AP courses. We have a middle school student that's taking a geometry class at the high school. And so we're able to get our kiddos onto campuses at various levels. For our high school students, there are a number of them that participate in athletics. In fact, I think that the boys soccer team is the most heavily represented team at GP Flex. And we have 18 students that have turned in applications to be able to go to the homecoming dance. So even though they're attending GP Flex, we have students that are still really interested in being able to attend some of those social events at the secondary level. We will also, in partnering with the high school, be able to provide some of our sophomores with the PSAT test in October, and they can attend the GPHS career fair. And then we have our first ever GP Flex school pictures that will take place at the Boys and Girls Club on October 12th. So they will get GP Flex ID cards for the secondary students. And so that's a first. They'll be the first group of students to receive that. In the future, we are working on having a fall celebration for the change in seasons at the elementary level. We will start our intervention groups for reading and math. I'm working to try and see if we can offer more elective choices for our middle school students. And we also really want to try and offer an opportunity for afternoon or evening help sessions for those students that prefer to work later in the day as opposed to during the school day. We're also developing plans and systems to accommodate more self-selected curriculum for our students in the community, and building stronger connections with RCC and SOU so we can streamline a way for our students to start taking classes there. So lots of firsts and lots of things that we're doing to try and build roads in the future. And so far, so good. I want to thank everybody who has partnered with us and given our students opportunities. They seem to really enjoy it. I love it when kids come by the office to turn in, for instance, dance request slips. And so we get to talk with students and have some of that connection there too. And I'm glad that they feel welcome to come and do that. I hope to continue building on these relationships and provide opportunities for our students as we continue to grow. With that, I will hand this off to Mr. Ryan Thompson.
Thank you, Natasha. Grants Pass High School, we are week 4 and starting our homecoming festivities this week. We have dress up days each of the 5 days this week. Today was pajama day, and only thing missing from my attire is a tie. I usually do wear a tie and shirt to bed. It's just kind of convenient. You roll out, you're ready to go. You know what I mean? But we've had some fun with that. And of course, there will be a cavalcade on Friday after school around 3:30. We'll be with the marching band, and all of our fall sports teams will be going downtown and going up and down 6th and 7th Streets. So feel free to get a piece of candy from one of our student athletes as they march downtown. And then of course the game Friday, and then dance on Saturday. We have study hall this year. That is something new and revamped. You've heard maybe in the past of IT time, intervention time, cave time, office hours. We just basically changed the name. It's the same thing. No, I'm just kidding. Study hall has changed. And the part we've really liked about it is that every student is someplace. And so we know that they all have either homework or studying they can work on. And so every teacher is assigned a study hall class of around 22 to 24 students each. We do have a few little extra things they can be requested for. We have an intramural program that about 40 students can participate in. They can go to the library or the career center too. And of course, teachers may request students on their own. So that's off to a good start. We've had some readiness lessons, what the elementary middle school might call PBIS lessons, just to make sure students understand all of our rules and those kinds of things. Thirdly, last year you approved the AP Environmental Science class, was in there recently and saw a lesson on emissions. And so they went out to the parking lot and collected samples from a variety of vehicles, all makes and models and years, and were able to then determine the carbon dioxide levels in those emissions. And as you might predict, some of the older models of cars had a lot higher carbon dioxide levels than some of the newer models. So that was an interesting lesson to see in AP Environmental Science. Ross St. Clair is the teacher in that course. Fourth, I don't know, Miss Evans may have a presentation for Jake Lier a little later, so I won't go into a lot of detail, but she helped him quite a bit with acquiring, as did Sherry Ely, with a forklift. And that's not just for fun and games, and it's not just to move some equipment around, it's also to train our students so they can, some of our advanced students, so they can have a certification to utilize a forklift, which, as you know, is something that a lot of people need in today's world. So trying to make sure our people are career ready. And last of all, related to that, I think you got an email from Superintendent Kolb yesterday on that's 1-2-7 model rather than the 40-40-20 model. 1 master's degree, 2 bachelor's degrees for every 7 people that need a post-high school certification. And that kind of relates to that forklift that Mr. Lier will be teaching his kids. But our staff, more importantly, were led by Shauna Bland, our career development coordinator, and a discussion over what it means to be college and career ready. And really, so many of those traits are the same. Whether you're going to be college ready or career ready, we want a lot of those same traits. So our staff weighed in, and we're going to have a definition of what that college and career readiness looks like, and the terms that we think are the top 3 that students need to have in order to be ready for the workforce. That's all at Grants Pass High.
Great, thank you very much. Are there any questions from the board members? Well, hearing none, I will just say I'm very grateful for each of you and what you're doing. We're grateful to have the kids back in school, and we appreciate your hard work and efforts despite all the changes and all of the things that we have to do now. It is wonderful to have the kids back and for them to be participating live in school, even if it looks a little differently. So thank you very much for your efforts. We as a board are very grateful for each of you. We will go on to 4.2, which is restraint and seclusion report. And so Director Jones, we'll turn the time over to you.
Thank you. Annually, our district is required to report out the number of restraints and seclusions that have taken place in the previous school year. We do that by submitting a report to ODE and then by sharing it here at a board meeting and also posting it on our website. Obviously, last year was a pretty good year for restraints and seclusions since kids weren't really in school and we didn't have to do it very often. So I would anticipate, just prepping you for next year, it definitely will look a little bit differently. But overall, for a district our size, these numbers are really looking good. One thing I'd like to just really make sure to point out is if you compare the number of restraints to the number of students that were involved in it, you'll see that sometimes the same student is involved more than once. We have a system of training our staff in nonviolent crisis intervention, and that program really focuses on the de-escalation of students so that we don't get to a restraint. They are absolutely our very last option when only there is imminent harm to the student or staff members nearby. So I just wanted to give you the report and ask if there were any questions.
Thank you. Do you have any questions from the board? Are there any questions from the board?
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Next, Director Cantola, we'd like to hear on our staffing compliance, I guess, or how the world looks with our staffing moving forward based on the mandates from the governor.
Give me 1 second to unmute him. Hang on. Okay, try that now, Danny.
All right. Thanks, Todd. It's nice to know you've got my back here. So, yeah, it's been an interesting time. I think principals are probably tired of getting phone calls and emails from me, especially Robbie Henderson. I think I emailed him 5 times on the same person. Just we are drilling down, trying to make sure that our staffing is as good as it possibly can be, given the vaccine mandate. These are the numbers that we have as of about last Friday, and they change a little bit here and there, and I can explain how they change. We did a survey at the beginning of this whole process and asked people what their intentions were. And as we have gone, people's intentions have changed, and people's intentions sometimes change pretty quickly. For example, someone at one time may have said, I'm just going to do the unpaid leave. And then lo and behold, they decide, well, I think I'm going to do the vaccination, or I think I'm going to do the exception. And so these numbers fluctuate a little bit, but they're getting to be pretty close at this point. We do believe that about 66% of our staff will be vaccinated. About 98 will be vaccinated by the time the 18th comes along. So we think somewhere in the neighborhood of 78% of our entire staff will be vaccinated. Another 166 approximately will seek an exception. And then a few have decided to retire. A few we know will go on the unpaid leave. And there are some that are just simply, they've been in communication with me, and they've either got medical things or they've got other things that they're struggling with, and just they're a little bit unknown. Bottom line, we believe that about 98% of our staff will be ready to work come October 19th, the day after the mandate takes full effect. The one caveat I'd give to that is that where we're struggling is kind of like what Robinson alluded to. Districts always struggle to find really talented special ed staff. They struggle to find advanced math teachers. We struggle to find bus drivers. We struggle to find people to clean the schools, our custodians. And that's in the best of times. Right now, in this particular time, we are even struggling a little bit more in those tight groups, special ed, site-based classrooms, especially a little bit in transportation, although I feel very blessed in our transportation world. We are far in better shape than a lot of the districts that we hear out there in terms of transportation. So overall, really pleased. It's been a very much a team effort. Susan, Trish, and all the principals really having good conversations with people, and have appreciated everybody's decision, and we're very respectful of everybody's decision in this thing, because this has not been an easy decision for anybody. So that's what we know as of today.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the board members?
So what's the total number of people who will currently, we know, will not be able to work after the 18th?
Currently, the ones we know for certain are the ones listed there. Gary, we've had about 3 retire. We've had another 11 that we know will not be getting vaccinated, will not be seeking any exceptions, and we'll be doing the unpaid leave thing. My best guess, Gary, by the time it's all said and done, is it will be less than 20 people.
Well, so as you might be aware from all of the information or news media stuff out there, some large group of state employees, I believe it is, were given an additional 6 weeks to comply with the vaccine mandate by the governor. And so I'm kind of wondering if we shouldn't, as a district, also grant any of our people that would have consequences that they don't appreciate the additional 6 weeks, why some of this stuff shakes out around the country. I mean, it's also, we have another state where a vaccine mandate is on hold by the courts. And so while we want to follow the law here in District 7, sometimes the law is not clear on day one. And the fact that the governor granted a huge pool of people an additional 6 weeks, I'm thinking we should do the same.
So I guess I could address just from a bargaining perspective, that we have an agreement that the board reached with the association last week that has set timelines in it and that kind of stuff. And so we would have to renegotiate that. But also on a legal front, probably better poised to answer that question would be Rebecca Jacobson. And I think she's with us. So I'm going to defer that to her. How about?
I've also put up, is my screen viewable by others? It says Oregon Health Authority with an OAR. Is that?
Yep, you did.
Okay, so this is the OAR specifically designated for schools. There's a separate one related to healthcare workers and under the governor's piece. So essentially my explanation, and I'll let Rebecca take over, is that the ORSs give the Oregon Health Authority the power to make decisions and create rules, Oregon advisory rules, that in the circumstances of a pandemic. And so this is a temporary rule that has been established for which we fall under. So as far as it being in law, this is the reference by which we need to comply and would be seeking legal guidance to ensure we are doing so. And as I've heard the board say, we will follow the law. And so this is the law itself, albeit an administrative rule issued through the statutes of authority given to the Oregon Health Authority. So Rebecca, I'll let you take over.
Good evening. I looked into what the governor's additional 6 weeks related to, and it was related to a specific group of bargaining unit employees. And by October 18th, they need to either have their first shot or have an exception. And then the 6 weeks is to allow them to finish the vaccination process. So if the district wanted to adopt a similar model, what would need to happen is this rule that the superintendent just referred to would need to be changed in order for the district to comply with the law and with the MOUs that you already have in place with your union. So after October 18th, as you can see in the rule right there, an employee cannot be employed if they do not have an exception or the completed vaccine. And how a lot of districts are interpreting that is another option is just to place that person on unpaid leave until circumstances change. And so that allows a little bit for this, as you say, Director Richardson, a little bit of the instability related to the law around this that's not a termination, it's just unpaid leave until circumstances change.
And I just want to clarify the part about the law. I mean, we do want to comply, and but if a court case occurs and the outcome of the court case was that the vaccine mandate was ruled to be not legal, then of course it wouldn't have been law, correct?
I don't see it that way. It would potentially have a nullification effect at that point, and that would come through usually like an injunction that would be put in place related to the rule. But for now, this is the law, and we would just take it as it comes when and if the law changed. You're right, there has been a lot of fluidity, but the district can plan on this rule being in place for the next 3 weeks as you make decisions.
For the next what?
Until we're talking about October 19th becoming the effective date for the unpaid leave option for employees. So I'm not aware of any challenge right now that would impact that rule going into effect come October 19th.
Okay, thank you.
So Danny, this is Cassie. So I did just hear Rebecca reference that, when circumstances change. So that's, if something changes, then they just come back to their regular position.
So what we negotiated is that if that position is available, that we would bring them back into that position. If not, we
What
would
makes it
do
not
our best to
available?
bring them back.
What makes that not
Well, for
available?
instance, if a teacher goes out on leave,
Mhm.
unpaid leave, we are going to need to, in most cases, replace that teacher so that the classroom is covered. That would be what would make it unavailable.
Does that mean, this is Member Neville, that they would potentially not be able to return to work after that absence
It could.
if it was not available?
It could mean that, I mean, right now, Todd, I think we would do our best to employ everybody. I think at this point, we're talking off the top of my head, we're talking about 4 teachers. We're talking about 10 classified members, some in the bus driver ranks, some in the custodial ranks. And I don't see that there would be any way that we wouldn't employ those particular people. So I think we're talking very few people that we're looking at unpaid leaves, and probably even thinner pool of people that we wouldn't be able to bring back. And at that point, the district's always been good to folks. We would do the best we can to bring everybody back.
Okay, but in essence, there wouldn't be a guarantee if that position was not available, correct?
There would not.
Or there couldn't be. You're telling me that we would try to accommodate those few that would need to be considered, but it would not be guaranteed employment.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
You're welcome. I also had your other question ready. You asked about coaches last time. So for fall coaches, wanted to let you know where we're at with that as well. Don't have a document, but we believe we have about 65 fall coaches. Of that group right now, 41 are vaccinated. 3 are in the process of being vaccinated. 14 have sought an exception. And there's 5 of them that the athletic directors are still trying to get information on. We do know that there's 1 of the 65 who will not either be getting an exception or a vaccination. So again, we're in really good shape in terms of where we're at with coaches for the fall and continuing to have those programs for students.
Danny, this is Member Wilkins again. Affidavits, I've heard that rumbling through the channels. How are we handling those? Are those the unknowns?
No, we've referred those to Bill Ransom to get some advice on. The ones that we've seen so far have not had any legal standing. That the people still need to follow through with what the requirements are for exceptions, which basically you have to use the OHA approved form for either a medical or religious exception. If it's a medical exception, that exception has to be signed off and approved by a physician. If it's a religious exception, then they have to state what the deeply held religious belief is and how that religious belief is impacted by the vaccination. And so, so far the affidavits haven't changed the process.
Okay. I just want to, are they on the list of total?
They are on the list of the total, yes.
Okay.
So far, I believe just a handful of those as well.
Okay.
I reshared my screen and just highlighted, this is a temporary rule that is slated to only be effective through February 20th going into next school year. However, we are hearing rumblings that it is likely that this rule will be extended and we don't know what period of time that will be. So we're just keeping an eye on that as well.
Anna, do you have any information on subs and volunteers who come into the classrooms?
So I know with subs, again, that's one of those, that's right up there with special education. They were thin to start with. and they're even more thin than they were. I happen to know a teacher, I believe I saw a list of about 40 subs to cover the region at this point. So we are also working with folks to try to do restricted sub licenses. So if you have a bachelor's degree and you are interested in being a sub, we are happy to help sponsor you if you've got some good work with children in your past. So yeah, it's pretty thin. Volunteers, principals will handle most of that process. People can bring in their vaccination cards to the school. They'll keep a record of that, put it in a Google form so that they know they're good to go for volunteering. If they want to do one of the two exceptions or try for one of the two exceptions, the building will take that information, send it to the district office so that we have a consistent group of people who review those. They'll review those very quickly and get those back to the schools. I think our biggest group of volunteers is probably our band program. And I know that the band booster parent has been working directly with Sherry to make sure that we have volunteers in place to cover. We have some pretty big events coming up for band with Pride of the Northwest and those type of things. So I know that Sherry's working directly with the band booster club.
All right. Any other questions before we move on? Danny, thank you very much. We appreciate your work and your calm demeanor as you work through some very difficult issues. And I know it's been challenging for everybody, and we're grateful for you and what you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Our next item, 4.4, Director Ely, this is my fault. I was just curious and I wanted the board and maybe the community to hear how we're doing as far as going back to school and the quarantines. We read in the newspaper about other districts who are sending thousands of children home in some cases, closing schools down. And thankfully that has not been our case, but I know we've had a few hiccups and we just wanted to hear how things were going. So.
Thank you, Chairman Nelson. Todd, can you share the COVID dashboard that we have, and I'll talk through that. If you can scroll down just a little bit. So this is what we have on our website. And if you're trying to find that when you're on the homepage of our website, if you go to the parent tab and then go down to COVID-19, it'll bring you to this dashboard. And what you see on the dashboard right now are our current cases. So we have 6 active COVID cases right now. There are 45 active quarantines, and the total COVID cases we've had since August 1st are 120. And those are positive and presumptive COVID cases. And just for a little bit of perspective, since August 1st, we've had 264 total students and staff combined that have been in a quarantine at various times throughout that period. And like I mentioned, 120 cases. And since March of this last year, or during this last school year, we had 765 students or staff that had to quarantine, and that was with 51 positive COVID cases that we've had. And so some of the stories that you've heard about schools that have had to, quarantine hundreds of kids at one time and, put total schools into quarantine, we have been very fortunate that we've not had that situation here. The cases that we have are intermittent throughout the school. It's not one school that's having a predominant number of cases over another school. So overall, I think we're doing really, really well. Our kids are doing pretty good with keeping their masks on, and staff are the same. And so we try to do all of those things that we know are going to keep our kids and our staff safe. So I think overall, considering that we have, 5,500 kids and over 800 employees, I think that we're doing really well. Do you guys have any questions about the data?
Okay, well, Sherry, thank you. You've done an excellent job. We're very grateful for you and your team and all that you're doing. And that is a fantastic number. as we hear other things around the country and around our state. So we're proud of you and the work that you and the staff are doing. Grateful for the kids being respectful and wearing masks. We know it's difficult, but it allows us to be back in school, and that's the most important thing. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Nelson. I appreciate it.
All right, we'll go to 5.0, board reports and special concerns. So I'll open it up to the board. Well, we are a lively group tonight, I see.
I saw Debbie had her hand up.
Debbie?
Well, so I was wearing my We Are GP mask, and a little girl said, "Oh, I like your mask. It reminds me of my school, GP Flex." So that was very sweet. And it's been about 50 years since I read Grapes of Wrath by Steinbeck, but I just finished Kristen Hanna's book called The Four Winds on the Dust Bowl, a fictitious novel. And I like this, one of the closing quotes from that book. "We've gone through bad times before and survived, even thrived. History has shown us the strength and durability of the human spirit. In the end, it is our idealism and our courage and our commitment to one another, what we have in common, that will save us." That's by Kristen Hanna.
Thank you, Debbie. Anyone else?
It's a member Richardson.
Yeah.
I was just happy to hear about the new air quality systems at some of our buildings. And it's been many years that we've been pushing in that direction. It's good to see that finally coming to fruition. And I think we still have a little ways to go, but hopefully that's going to help the learning at the district, and as well as some of the respiratory diseases that float around in our schools, both COVID and during the cold and flu season. So it's really nice to hear those things finally getting turned on. Appreciate Sherry and all the work she did to make that happen.
Thank you, Gary. Anyone else?
Member Neville here, just wanted to echo some of those accolades. It is wonderful to see South Middle School in session. Every time I drive my daughter to North these last 3 weeks, I've thought about South not being able to meet in person. Sports are a big deal for me and my family, and seeing Tommy and others at sporting events, a great thing to see, since we've been without that for about 1.5 years as a coach and as a player. Extracurricular activities, music, sports, it's more than just the icing on the cake. So thanks to all those that support everything inside and outside the classrooms.
Thank you, Todd. All right. Well, why don't we go on to 6.0, our superintendent's report. So Kirk, we'll turn the time over to you.
Yeah, it'll be nice and short. This is just a standing agenda item. Should I have anything additional that has come about to share with the board? And I do not have anything additional for the board this evening, unless the board has questions for me.
All right, I don't hear anyone. Unfortunately, my screen is froze, so I can't see any of our board members. So I'm just waiting to see if someone jumps in. So if you have something to say, please don't hesitate, since I can't see you. But very good, thank you. We do have one action item tonight, 7.0, our Power School e-finance and the financial system. And Sherry, if you'd like to talk a little bit about this.
Yes, so we have been looking at several different financial packages that we could perhaps purchase to replace the system that we currently use. So we have been using an IBM mainframe system and the same software since I started working in the district, and that was in 1991. And so we've done, several things to make that system work and make it more user-friendly to the staff, but it's definitely an old system. And the person who had been supporting that retired from the district several years ago. And with my retirement looming in the distance, I feel like it's time that we move on to a different system that our current IT staff can support. And so that's what got us started looking at the different packages. And so we looked at this e-finance package, which is part of the Power School system, and that's the student information system that we already use. And so our techs are very familiar with the type of coding that is used by Power School. We did look at a couple of other systems. We looked at Skyward and Infinite Visions. The Power School system just seemed to have a more comprehensive package, and again, more of an interface with the Power School student information system that we have. And in looking at the cost to set up the system was very consistent with other products that are out there. And so I think, like I mentioned in the memo to the board, I was a little bit surprised that the cost wasn't a little bit higher based on what I've seen out there on the market for a comprehensive financial and HR system. So just asking the board to approve the purchase of this system so that we can start onboarding this. It takes probably 9 months to a year to really integrate into a new system like this. And so if the board does approve this, we will get started on this right away so that we can start the conversion over to the new system.
Thank you. Are there any questions from our board members?
I don't think it's a question, but I remember when I found out the system they had, I'm trying to think of the right adjective. I'll just say stunned.
Gary, it's been a great system. It's very stable.
Which is good. And I will say, having done a number of system transitions over my career, good luck on this transition. And you may have to come back another year to make sure that we get completely across the creek.
We could put that in a motion, Gary. Well, this is Member Wilkins, and I would say it's about time.
Member Neville here. I plan on approving. I just had a couple clarifying questions. I don't know if they make user friendliness on a scale of 1 to 10 or not, but does it have that user friendliness that you're looking for? I know there's training involved and people are going to have to be transitioned into it, but I'm just curious how user friendly it is, Sherry.
It appears to be a really user-friendly system. It seems very intuitive. And because the different components of the system are integrated, that's what definitely enhances the user friendliness of the package. And the other thing that will make it more user-friendly for the staff are the things that will be able to be included that the staff can access on their own. So everyone will have a login just like we do now. And so if someone wants to download, let's say their W-2 or something like that, that we currently don't have the capability of having online for them, they'll be able to do that. So there are quite a few things that will definitely be enhancement over what we're doing now, like from the requisition systems and how staff can enter in data for their requisitions and for travel and just a whole host of things. And then looking on the HR side, you know, how they can keep track of teacher certifications and all of the different elements that we need to have available to us on a staffing perspective as well. So yes, I would say that on a user-friendly scale, it ranks right up there. And in comparing it with some of the other systems, a lot of the districts in the state use infinite visions. I was really not wanting to go that direction because I've heard the issues that districts have had with infinite visions. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to have to fight that kind of a battle. And so then I checked with some of the school districts that are using actually the e-finance package, and Three Rivers, which is our neighbor school district, uses this package also, and they love it. They said it's the best one that they've used. So I have some pretty good confidence that it's going to be a good transition for us.
Oh, good. And just one last question was, and that's promising that the cost is going to be better than you expected. Is there a cost currently for the old antiquated system that we can even compare to the new?
No, and that's
Gotcha.
that's one of the downsides of moving to a new system. The only cost we have to maintain the current system is what we pay Darcy England, who's the retired programmer that we used to have, and we pay him less than $10,000 a year to maintain the current system. So it's definitely an uptick in cost for us.
Right. And the 69,000, whatever it is, annual, is that what it was? I remember looking at the figures. So.
Yes, it's a little over 63,000. Yes.
Okay. Excellent. Looks like the comps have been considered, and we're confident with this program that's proven itself locally with others. That's all I had. Thanks.
Well, hopefully the system will last for another 40 years, like the IBM mainframe system. So, okay, any other questions or comments before we entertain a motion to approve? I will entertain a motion then to approve the Power School e-finance system expense.
This is Member Wilkins. I move that we accept the Power School e-finance system.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Member Richardson, second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, Tanya, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Richardson,
Yes.
Member Neville,
Yes.
Member Brownell,
Yes.
Member Wilkins,
Yes.
Member Coleman,
Yes.
Member De La Grange,
Yes.
Board Chair Nelson.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Item 8 on our agenda, future meeting dates and suggested agenda items. We have our 2 board meetings on October 12th and 26th. And we will also have a board workshop on the 26th as well. So an abbreviated meeting where we begin our work with for our scholarship fund. So, and we're excited to have that. We will adjourn our regular session at this time. We will enter into executive session in just a few minutes. And for all of our public who are with us tonight, we will be back after our executive session and reopen our general session. So you are welcome to come back at that time. And we will close this meeting. Thank you very much.
Chair Nelson?
Yes.
One thing about our meetings, we're currently doing Zoom. Is it possible that at least the board could start being in person for the October meetings?
I certainly hope so, Gary. I will be working with our Josephine County Health Director, Dr. O'Keefe, and get recommendations, but I am encouraged by the numbers that we're seeing, and I'm hopeful that we can at least meet as a board again in the future.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone. We will see you in the executive session or afterwards. Item arising from executive session. Let me start over since we're now recording. So we will reconvene our general session. Welcome back. We will go to 12.1 action item arising from executive session.
This is Member Richardson. There were going to be 2 motions. I'm just going to concatenate the 2 motions. I move to rescind the September 14th motion to allow an appeal of the superintendent's decision to the board, and to grant the requests of Rachel Damiano and Katie Meadart for post-dismissal appeal. The board will allow a written supplemental briefing and responses to written board member questions.
Thank you. We have a
This is
motion.
Member Wilkins, I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion or any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Tanya, will you give us a roll call vote, please? With Member Coleman being the last.
Member Richardson,
Yes.
Member Neville,
Yes.
Member Brownell,
Yes.
Member Wilkins,
Yes.
Member De La Grange, Member De La Grange,
He's
Yes.
mute. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, Member De La Grange,
That was a yes.
or Chair Nelson,
Yes.
Member Coleman.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The motion carries unanimously. We appreciate your hard work this evening. Grateful for the board members. We will end our session. Thank you very much for your attendance.